Hello, everyone. Wow, they disappeared me. They disappeared me. I gotta bring me back. Where am I? Huh. I guess I'm gonna be disappeared today. I don't know what is going on. We'll just try the second camera. Second camera. There, we can use this one. Good morning, everyone. I don't know why the main camera's not working. We'll have to figure that out later. How is everyone doing? Hello, Tesla Force. Good morning, Wavy. Good morning, Christoph. What the difference? Some little overnight price action? I think you meant good morning, all Sterling. Again, I make typos all the time, especially with voice dictation. How can I get a typo with voice dictation? Because I'm not even typing it. By the way, just a reminder before we look at the markets, the consumer credit change is the only thing today, and that's it's medium importance, but it's not really going to move things. Fed watch is still sitting roughly at the same thing, so we've checked our boxes there, but the big thing is the price action. We had the gaps down last night and pretty strong bounce back. Yeah, there was. This is why you got to trade the price action. It was crude selling off hard after a massive juice up last night. We'll take a look at that. Made for some great overnight trading. There was some fantastic trading. Overall, you can see the gap down and the recovery. So here's where it opened and the little bounce back. Still trying to fill that full gap. But everybody who's been a long time subscriber should know the patterns in play and what we were watching for with the little gap fill and the key price action. And it looks like it's going to fill it right now. But just a reminder, same thing with stocks. You put on your little retracements, watch for that closing price action above the 62.5, then you target that gap fill. The Nasdaq actually had a fantastic little double bottom, so that was where we sit. So you can see here, we had this significant level. That's why you should tune into the Sunday afternoon show, 42.55 area. You can see here, and we're not trying to call the exact low or anything, but look at that on a nice 1 hour closing basis. Couple tries to get dips below, but could not close below that level, and then strong reversal. So pretty much everything still in place that we covered yesterday. You know, I said minor bearish and then major bearish. We could not get really into that major bearish zone, and we have some patterns. There was a wonderful double bottom, as I said. Same stuff today. I'm watching 43.44 if this rally continues. 43.44. Then 43.99. Could this reverse all the way up? Yeah. It could. It's trading off headlines. It's trading off everything. The latest thing is there going to be the Russian ceasefire, which basically says Ukraine give away everything and we'll stop blowing you up. So we'll see, but everything can change in a moment's notice. Remember the rotation zone coming in about 43.84, and the key level I will be really watching on the daily basis is at 4,400. If we get above there, I'll watch for a continued short pop. And I was talking to people last night, and everybody was throwing in the towel saying this thing's going down. We're gonna be tanking tomorrow. These are the kind of stuff you get in these markets. We all know when there's lots of fear. This was still not a lot of fear. There's still not a lot of fear. So keep that in mind. It was just markets doing what markets do, especially in markets that are rolling over. Let's see who else is here. Hello, Sashi. We'll get to Tesla in a minute. Hello, Options 22. Buy the oil dip. Long term, buy the oil dip. Yeah. It's been a fantastic gap play so far. I'll go over that in a second. Nasdaq. See here, let's get down to that shorter price action. This was fantastic too. The 1 hour here, getting below our key level, but then you got that reversal, that little reversal here. And the double. There's your double. Gap fill. And all the double targets hit. So that was the little play. The overnight play in the Nasdaq. By the way, this double off because it never did trigger. So we don't have to watch for that. We can take that off too. So still my resistance area now is 13,886 above there. Here's what's interesting. You know, this is why clear paths are so wonderful. Because we don't really have one. We have a little bit in here. So if you start seeing it really get above, and I'd target, you know, if you want a shorter term level, you can target this little area about 13,996 for 14,000. You get above there, you have a little mini clear path move. I talked about that also yesterday here. But until you get there, if you look here, there's a lot of little stopping points. So there can be a lot of chop back and forth. So keep that in mind. And this was a clear path. And you had that double. So trading into that clear path and the gap fill. And you could have done the same thing with the gap fill, watching for that 62.5, especially on a shorter term chart. You see spiking up, then moving down. So I watched between the 50 and 62 for a rollover. It spiked in there, and look how well these levels work. They work incredibly well in gaps to trade between. But here's your, then your close above that 62.5, or even on pullbacks, you target that gap fill. And we got the gap fill. So you had the double and the gap fill targets. Again, just want to point out, this is where you don't get emotional with the trading. If you have your strategies already in place, you just execute the strategies, you watch for the patterns, you put on your levels, and then you trade them. If it stops you out, it stops you out. Dow bouncing back. Again, no double here, but again, lots of stopping price action here. So, I mean, there's just until you get really above about 33,620, that's when you get into the clear path. So I'm just keeping an eye of that I'm targeting 33,940, and then the other levels are the same above 34,143, 34,390, and 34,637. Russell, also you get your little reversal pattern here, and this was a valid double. I just didn't put it on the charts. And gap fill and double targets all hit. So this should have not been a surprise with that kind of price action crude. I mean, here we go. What do you think? What are you thinking? Who said, wait, was that wavy crude? Who was trading crude overnight? Because here's the thing. You put up your gap fill again. Your gap fill. Also, see you coming down first dip. So this is coming from the prior close, not the lows, the prior close up to those highs. Coming down, you have the 50% level right here. I know I have a lot of lines on the chart. Sorry about that. I was trying to keep some stuff. Let me pull some of these lines off so we can put some back on later. So here's that 50% level. Watch for the rotation up. So you get the rotation up, and that's definitely playable. And then little mini double top pattern, which is reversing this move against the harmonic, and then rolling back over. So that should have not been a surprise. And then you watch holding at that 50, and then you break down, close below the 62.5, targeting the gap fill, which is what we're going for right now with that 200 on the 15-minute, but really it's just targeting that full gap fill. And this could even pull back more. This is highly overextended. You also have a potential divergence on the daily. Again, would I be shorting this? By the way, this double is completely off the table, never triggered with that gap up. But again, I'm watching for the bigger pullback and bigger pullbacks in crude as, who said that? As, where is it? Sorry, Rich, buy the oil dip. Yep, buy the oil dip. Please provide my favorite 3 or 5 oil or oil service plays. We went through those the other day. I have a list of them. Hey, I mean, I just trade the big ones also. You know, I'll just trade the Exxons and everything else. Now, I'm looking for a bigger pullback in a lot of these, but we went through a bunch of those. Boy, I think like NOV, APA, MUR, VLO. We went through a bunch of those from Raj the other day. So all those are still playable. That was crude. Gold, and I'll do a scan of oil stocks. I've not had a chance to do a scan of oil stocks yet. Gold, everybody was saying, there's gold's going through the moon. I'm like, not so sure. Trigger, there was your double. Trigger, first, second target's already hit and rolling back over again. I'm still watching for this night. Back to 1963. Again, yeah, gold will get it's overdone a little to the upside. You got divergences, and I'm watching again for bigger pullbacks, and that's just like crude, buy the bigger pullbacks. Silver, just going to look at the daily on that. Again, harmonic level, divergence, pulling back now, watching for the bigger pullback in silver. Also, notes, again, trying to get above that 128.24 level, poking above there again, but no major closes above there, and then rotating back down. So still caught in this longer term range. Remember, notes are trading against the weekly rotation zone, so I will be watching if it does rally back up. I will be watching that 129 level. Close above there. That means I'll start watching me for the even bigger pullback to this prior breakdown area with the monthly. But overall, I'm still watching longer term for notes to head lower with everything on the inflation front. Dollar spiking up and retracing a bit, but dollar still bullish on pullback. So we got a request for Tesla. Tesla looking like it's going to slight gap up. Again, nothing's changed from that market stuff yesterday on if it rallies with the Nasdaq. Again, I'm going to be paying attention to the Nasdaq, so it's come back and fill that gap. But longer term, still very bearish. Short term, 880 is the next target. Above 880, 913. You'll see some price action hovering around 900 though. Still a significant level right around there, and a lot of people will target that with a round number. But above that, 913 with the declining 50, and then above that, we got 935. If you start breaking down below 825, then I'm starting to get more and more bearish, but I'm not getting super bearish again until you get a key close below 771. Now, that means I'm talking short term. Long term, I am very bearish because of the patterns that have already triggered. Good morning, Amit. Everyone, crazy how the futures have recovered from last night. Would you say C is I not touching Citibank? Yeah, there's a little short-term gap play possibly, but I'm not touching these at all. I went through that in a sector overview. So if you haven't watched my sector overview from yesterday, watch this. You see Citibank. Here's the weekly. What did it close at? I mean, this, we don't have this from last week yet, but look where we are sitting. I mean, this week yet, but look where we're sitting. Look where we're sitting. We're down here. So this is broke key support. You can see it on the weekly. This is this weekly bar, but we're into a clear path move. So this is sell the rallies in Citibank. I think a lot of these banks are going to have some ramifications longer term from what's going on with Russia and the freezing of assets. So again, I'm not surprised to see a short-term potential gap play here, but would not touch this long-term at all. Why? I could see this over the next weeks, for the next weeks to a couple months back to this 40, filling some of these gaps down here. So not touching there. There's better plays. There's better plays that we have. Again, oil, like here, I just talked about this, and options 22 asked for here. You have NOV. We talked about this last week. Are these playable on pullbacks? Yeah. And these again came from Raj. He put them in. So look, we got the double that's triggered, pulled back, and now it's moving higher, and you have a weekly clear path, and you easily have plays higher. So this is the kind of stuff I'd be looking to play if you're looking for plays. You know, pullbacks and then move higher. There will be volatility in these. So you don't keep your stop too close. Just lower your position size with a wider stop. But those are the kind of things you're looking for, okay? In these commodity sectors, APA, integrated oil, energy, minerals, APAs, you got your plays on the pullbacks. Now, NOV is giving you a slightly better pattern, but that's what you have. Any prediction? I couldn't I mean, there's your Exxon again. Exxon, but if you look at this price action, you still watch these for great little plays, although this, you know, rotating back up, any pullbacks, even 82, this would be where I'd have the tighter stop below about 74, because you could still, if this does roll over a bit, you still have that potential double, but that's definitely playable. OXY, I just look at the price action overall. OXY up huge. There's your Occidental Petroleum. I mean, it might have something to do with where, how they're positioned, but that is big. Again, these are definitely playable. Would not chase this today, but these are definitely playable on pullbacks. End phase, which is sort of funny. Gapping up, I mean, yeah, we've talked about end phase a lot. I can't really get more bullish on that until it gets above this 200 again, but just it's a slight gap up. But again, that would be something we've talked about this with the the solar thing versus oil. You got to play the oil short term, or let's see, uranium slight gap up. You could watch for, like in URNM, there's a potential nice gap fill play back above the 200. So this is definitely playable short term and longer term with what's going on. Futures close the gaps a lot. And they generally, especially for longer term stuff, will close gaps. Like we'll see these gaps if you look even in wheat at some point. These gaps, wheat limit up again. Here's your wheat. You can't even see it. It's right up here. Limit up. So limit up Friday, limit up today. And will these gaps fill at some point? Yes. Can't tell you when yet. I took off all the targets. I'll put on some retracement targets once we start backfilling. But other than that, wheat's still limit up. Soybeans holding at their highs. So this, again, long-term bullish in a lot of the grains, and corn reversing. But again, that's another long-term play. Let's just take a look at the Kryptos. Slight little bounce, but again, we still have this potential double is still valid. But again, I can't get short-term bullish until we get above 45,855, because this could easily roll over again. Long-term bearish, short-term neutral. We already hit that double target, which was bearish, and then we rallied back up, could not get above the significant level. Where else do we sit, everybody? Let's just take a look. And a lot of the stuff I covered yesterday, we looked at some key ratios. That still is in play longer term. Forgot what I was going to look at. Your VIX. See, this is not in super panic mode yet. So there's nothing to panic. I mean, this is why we can get these rallies still. Where do we sit? BBBY. Then I'm going to wrap it up. I have some extra ooh. Bed Bath, is there a takeover offer on this? Because that's what I'm expecting for BBBY. At some point there will be a takeover play, and it looks like, I didn't see the news yet on it, but it looks like that might have hit. WLL. Yeah, that's another. Thanks. I don't know WLL just from a fundamental standpoint, but breaking to new highs. So this is definitely playable on pullbacks. Definitely playable on pullbacks. Thank you for putting that in. Approaching your next harmonic. So I might be watching for a pause and then a pullback. Your key. You had that little pause here on Friday. GameStop, 10% stake in Best Buy. I mean, Bed Bath & Beyond, meme play. Amazon. Not much going on. I mean, I've talked about this repeatedly. I can't get bullish longer term in this unless it's back above this 32.78, or unless we get a buyable pattern down here. Because this, if you look at the weekly, is in bearish mode on the weekly. And there's no bottoming. There's no great bottoming pattern here. There's just very short-term plays, potential plays to the upside. If you get some market, you get back above that 2,900. It would be a super aggressive buy on a close above Friday's high, but there's too many stopping points. It's not a good play for me. What else do we have? JJN. Bloomberg, yep. Nickel. Again, some of these are getting very overextended. Look at that. We will get some monster pullbacks in these, but this is stuff I'm not chasing at all. If you weren't in some of these commodity plays already, there will be pullbacks in them. So don't get caught up here when there'll be better entry points. So don't chase these. Again, this is oversold, but this would just be bounce plays to the daily rotation zone. Just looking if there's a pattern down here. No. I mean, they're just bounce plays now. So you had this gap lower. You're into the 4-hour rotation zone. So I'd be targeting around 13,300 for my first target if you're playing this to bounce play. And then the next target I'd be targeting about this 13,500 with a daily declining rotation zone to see if it can get up there and roll back over. But this is not bullish. Back below the 200 on the weekly. It's overextended to the downside, but this has a long way to potentially fall again. So again, this would be sell the rallies. All right, everyone. That's where we sit. Let me just peek in at the S&P. Remember, even on these moves up, pay attention because there's lots of stopping points in here, especially with the S&P. Watch if it can get above this 43, 45 area. There's too many stopping points. So you got to be very nimble if you're trying to trade the futures or the SPYs or the Qs. There's just, unless you get those momentum bar plays, we could see some chop price action. And Wavy said, maybe chop mode. I completely agree. All right. Don't know why this camera's not working. I will fix that later, but I've disappeared me for now, and I will talk to everybody later. It'll be definitely the standard aftermarket reviews today. So if you want to look at some stocks, that will be at 4:30 Central, and the overall market overview will be at 3:30 Central. Talk to everyone then. Bye for now.